Dr. Danyo. It's so nice to see you, my friend.
Great seeing you again.
Welcome back. We've got another great conversation planned today, and this is going to include talking a little about the process. We're going to hear about a testimonial, but this example today is going to continue diving into this world of hair transplantation, but this is actually transferring beard hair, right? Something I don't know if it's just me, but whenever I first heard that that's a possibility, I was like, what? How does that happen? So that's the topic today, all right? So I always love to hear about your skill set and how you approach this. I know you've been doing this. I mean, you've crossed now over 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
That's big time. So time is just flying, right? So tell me, what is this beard to hair transplant process? Could you explain that? And I would also be curious to hear kind of how the science works. How can that happen?
Yeah. So I think, the reason that we would use beard is it's kind of like buying a house. A lot of times people have cash and maybe that's part of your payment, and then they have a mortgage.
20% down or something, right?
And then they maybe liquidate something to put more money into it. So, I mean, there are kind of multiple streams to actually purchase the house. So when I use beard and kind of incorporate it into the plan for hair restoration, it's the same concept. If somebody has a really large space, I mean, I do a lot of patients that have near complete hair loss. I'm talking from front the whole way back into the crown. And that takes a lot of hair. And the question is, does the donor site, meaning from the sides and back of the head, is that enough of a bank account to actually get this job done? Similar to, getting your mortgage and just getting your house. Oftentimes when we're looking at somebody with complete hair loss, I mean, you're looking at a minimum of 5,000 grafts to go from the hairline back into the crown. That would probably give kind of sparse coverage.
5,000 on your range, that as I'm hearing you right, that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
That's on the higher side, I believe. That's 5,000, right?
I mean, to go from the front of the hairline back into the crown, I mean, that's kind of on the low side. I mean...
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's a big space. Okay, I hear you now.
Yeah, and, everyone's space is different. Some people have kind of narrow heads, and especially if there's more hair, like, up from the ears, But if it's down low, I mean, that graft count can easily go into the 8,000 to 9,000 range to get, really good coverage. Oftentimes, the crown is more contained, but then on the other hand, it's oftentimes really wide on the back and sides of the crown, and it's like painting a room. It depends how big the room is and how much paint you have, to get it done. So if I have a consultation and somebody wants to go from the whole way from the hairline back into the crown, I bring that beard conversation up immediately because we don't want to just exhaust the head hair and then say, we have to use beard hair now for the rest of it.
You plan it from the beginning.
Yeah, you want to come up with a game plan to actually incorporate it from the beginning. So last night I did a consult. He has pretty significant hair loss, had some hair more in the middle scalp. And we were talking about doing about 4,500 grafts. And his donor site is average. But if I took it solely from the head using FUE, we would be close to pretty much tapping out the donor site, meaning there wouldn't be any more reserve if, say, 10, 15 years from now, he wanted to do some more. So I brought up the idea of using beard hair on the first case, and also using it on the second. So our game plan was to incorporate and do 750 from the beard and 1,750 from the head to get a total of 2,500. and then the next case look at doing 1,500 from the head and getting 500 from the beard. So essentially, we took 1,000 of those grafts, and now he's down to just using 3,500 from his head donor, which gives him options in the future.
Good option.
And the nice thing about the beard, I mean, there was a recent study, and it showed that the actual volume per graft or per follicle of beard hair is twice that of head hair typically, especially if somebody has, kind of thinner hair in the back. And that volume actually translates into the appearance of more grafts. So if you did 2,000 grafts, let's say you did 1,500 from the head and 500 from the beard, the appearance is going to be like getting 2,200 or 2,300 head hair grafts because of that volume. What the beard does really is it just takes pressure off the donor site on the head, and again has the advantage of actually having better coverage and ultimately a better look.
Makes a lot of sense. Diversifying. When you mentioned that look, does it look like, if you were to look, I guess, you're a total expert in this, so you would probably could tell the difference between this type of hair and that type of hair, but can you feel the difference? What? Yeah, that's why I'm just so surprised about how beard hair can turn into, the hair from on top of your head. Your head hair.
Yeah. Well, obviously there's going to be more volume. There's going to be more coarseness. And there is somewhat of a trade-off. There's always a trade-off when you do hair restoration. But the trade-off is really a positive one. I can't think of a single patient that I've done beard that they regretted doing it. If anything, if I do a second case, they oftentimes say, can you do 1,000 from the beard? I like the volume that I'm getting.
More from the beard. Wow.
And, we don't do like a strip of beard hair and then do head hair. We mix it all in. And it's never like curly Q, at least for Caucasian and Asian patients. Obviously, there's going to be more curl with African style hair, but that kind of mimics the head hair. And the other really cool thing about beard extraction is that it really doesn't leave any scarring on the face, and it heals in about 2 days. In fact, the day after the procedure, when you wake up and you kind of wash off any kind of oozing or kind of scabbing the next day, most of those holes that we produce from doing the FUE, grafting, have almost closed up, and by the second day, there can be just a little bit of redness and really almost minimal evidence that we're there. It's unbelievable.
Wow. Right. And we've talked about this before. The way I love all your analogies, the house, painting a room. I've always thinking of it like you're digging up a tree and you're moving that tree somewhere else. And so what I'm hearing you say is where you dig up that, each individual hair from a beard, that pore is going to close up, and so that definitely can make it discreet. And
if you look at the face, especially we do a lot of the grafting under the chin. If we're going for, I've had a number of patients that have had like prior strips and plugs like back in the early 90s, and they in fact, we're going to talk about Richard. He's on our YouTube channel, where there's really not much donor site there left, and he had an insane beard, especially down in the neck, and we were able to get a ton of beard hair, chest hair, and we did take some head hair, mainly for the frontal hairline to kind of keep it soft, but it allowed us to get really a massive amount of grafts that were otherwise not available. In fact, he saw experts in New York City, went to 5 different clinics, and they said, you're not a candidate. And when he brought up beard, they said, no, that's not an option.
Wow.
If you go to our YouTube channel, look up North Atlanta Hair Restoration or Dr. Danyo, you'll see Richard on there, and he's got great results, really natural. And I think when I bring up beard, people are always scared, like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine how painful it is.
Right. I was thinking about that too. Does it hurt? How does that?
You know what? The numbing is so much easier than actually doing numbing to the head.
Than the skull area, probably, right? Like you're saying,
Yeah,
it's easier for you as a physician to work with a beard.
What I do is I do one spot first, and I numb that, and so you get one needle stick, and that's the main part of the pain is just that one needle stick, and then I take a needle and go under the skin, and it's really not painful. It's more like pressure, and we just keep pushing the numbing over. So when I stick,
that is
to move over, I go into where it's numb.
Craftsmanship.
Yeah, and you just have to do it slow. And but for me in pain management, I know that my history of doing pain management before, that if I hurt somebody in a procedure, I'll hear about it even a year later. They say, "Oh, doc, you killed me with that one stick." And so I'm really cognizant about doing this right. The other thing is just the mixture of medicines, how we do it, keep everything nice and safe. But the beard extraction is actually pretty shallow. People think that I'm going to hit a vital structure, but you would have to go much deeper than what we're doing. A lot of times, especially we're taking the lower neck for say like 500, 750 grafts. I mean, a lot of people shave this neck hair anyway.
So it's like under the neckline.
Oh, yeah.
And that might be more convenient.
Yeah, and a lot of people have hair that grows up, into their neck, and when I tell them I can get rid of that, they're like, "Oh my gosh,
that's a 2-for-1
hair.
That's a twofer right there."
Exactly. So yeah, it's a 2-for-1 special.
I can't believe that he had been to 5 people. Nope, can't. And it's unfortunate. We've talked about this too, about the old past. Those methods are completely different now. So he had experience. He'd gone through an old path on that. No one else could help him. You were able to help him. And what I was going to say is I've seen some of the video, and I was going to say, yes, the hair looks great, but he has a great smile.
Yeah.
Like you can feel, he feels really good about where you all landed.
Yeah, and he was going through such a tough time. He tells everybody on the video, he had just lost his wife, and his daughter was sick, and his father had passed away, and it really changed his life in such a positive way. And really, he was denied that positivity or chance to improve his life by experts. And my thing on beard, because not a lot of people do it, we do it a lot. I mean, I probably do at least 3 to 4 beard cases a week because we're doing larger cases and really dealing with complicated patients that need another donor site. And, for, me and my team, this is not a difficult procedure. And in fact, the majority of folks, and I would say it's probably 90%, say the beard is easier than the head. For extraction, you're sitting up. Head might be kind of leaning a little bit, up, but not in like some weird position. And a lot of times people are just watching movies or Netflix or just relaxing. And again, the healing is just so fast. I mean, it's really amazing.
That's really neat.
Yeah, so I've actually done some really large beard extraction cases. In fact, I've had a number of patients where I've done multiple cases that exceeded 5,000 grafts, and where I took, the hair, down here a little bit more aggressively because they didn't want this anyway. And then I just did kind of like an FUE I do on the head where I take random hairs, and there's so much contraction in the face that kind of pulls the hairs back together, but they all have good beards still. So, making this decision is not catastrophic to, the kind of the yearning to have a beard in the future. It's just kind of part of the puzzle. And I don't think there's enough kind of puzzles being put together in kind of solution based approaches. I think a lot of times these consults, especially if they're not done by a physician, are really simplistic, or they're really kind of bizarre. People get like crazy large graft counts, and then when I look at their donor site, I tell them there is no way you could have had that much done, at least at one time. And anyway, beard is really just a positive all around. The last thing, you brought up the coarseness, and people are really kind of worried. Is it going to look funny? Is it going to feel funny? And I've worked on people with extremely thin hair, where I can think of a patient that had multiple strips, to where his hair was so fine. I mean, you could still see the strip scars through the hair. He never had FUE done on his donor site. And it was so fine up top that the hair that was moved, I mean, it was there, but it didn't have a major impact. But I've actually done 6,000 grafts from his beard to the top of his head, and it is unbelievably nice. And all the way up even to his hairline. He's extremely happy about it.
Wow.
And, the coarseness is just not an issue.
That's so neat. It's got to feel so satisfying to... You were talking about as we're wrapping up here, but it's sort of like you're buying a house. You got to find, hey, there might be another fund over here that you can utilize. And it's like, oh, the bank says, hey, by the way, we forgot to tell you, you've had this, bank account over here just that you can pull from. Like, great, use the beard. So what an interesting use case. And one thing that just add on top of all of this as we're wrapping up is your practice exclusively hair only. That's another huge benefit. This is not, and of course, when you and I have been doing this podcast now, we talk about hair transplants. I see all these ads for hair transplantation. Like, oh wow, this clinic, now they're offering this. We're now offering this. And so it's just interesting how, unlike the others who might be doing a bunch of cosmetic things and hair transplants, you are just one thing, your lane, do it the absolute best you can. So that is just something I want to make sure we mentioned as we're wrapping up.
Yeah, and the last thing is, I do a lot of medical management, mainly with finasteride and minoxidil, but I don't sell any items in the office. I don't do like potions and lotions and shampoos, and occasionally we do plasma injection therapy, but it's like a practice. I mean, we really are focused on hair transplant. We say that we're in the office. I think practices that take hair transplant and think cow and what we're doing for or health. I think it's a wrong approach, and I think patients out there leery of that approach because oftentimes the doctor's not educated, and especially when you're incorporating beard or doing more complex cases, you need creativity. You need a team that can get it done and just think outside of the box without creating issues. And I'm really dedicated to my patients to not create issues. I don't like complications. I don't like people in pain. And it's rare that we get that. So, again, it's a craft that we work on. We've talked about that. And we work on it every day, and we continue to master it. We're kind of a work in progress. But I also think our progress is maybe a little bit higher than most, especially those that are not solely dedicated to just doing hair transplant.
Makes sense. I appreciate your clarity and your approach to all of it. And there's something to be said. You are an artist. You're a craftsman with this. Your team dedicated to that constant improvement, always finding new ways to be better and be innovative and come up with great ideas and be able to execute something that some other people, they're not going to do it. They don't know how to do it. Not only can you do it extremely well. So congratulations. I can't wait to watch the rest of Richard's story on the YouTube page. And hey, with that said, thank you. Looking forward to talking to you again soon.
All right. Thank you, Clark.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to Hair Restoration with Dr. Daniel A. Danyo. Book your consultation today with Dr. Danyo by calling 678-845-7521 or online at nahairrestoration.com. And be sure to follow, rate, and review the show wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.